All right, here we are again. We're live, but we got to let it breathe just for a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and take a sip of some tea while we connect to Facebook. You guys know the drill. It's going to be a fun episode. We're talking day 5 and some serious stuff was happening today. We're going to get into it. I'm stoked to be here once again with Tom. So let's do it. Welcome in, everybody. It is Mile High Insiders. I am your filling in host, Chad Jensen, with obviously the guy you know on Wednesday nights, Thomas Hall. Tom, dude, how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited. The camp is going great, it seems like, and football's right around the corner. So, what can you not be excited about? You got a Broncos team who's relevant, who should be a contender. Fans should be stoked at this time of the year.
I would think so, but some are a little bit worried, Tom, that the defense, since the pads went on, the defense have been clearly kind of winning the day. Now, that was quite evident yesterday. Today, very physical, got a little chirpy. We'll talk about that here in a minute, but the offense got its licks in, especially on third when they were running third down and team drill and whatnot, third and longs especially. But do you have any anxieties over the defense early on, kind of exacting its will on the Bo Nix offense?
Not at all. I would be very worried if they weren't, because it's supposed to be one of the best defenses in the league. And typically, early on, especially when the pads first go on, defenses tend to get the better of an offense because the offense is installing their plays. They're still working things out. They're still trying different things. So it's very understandable, especially when you're going against a defense of the quality of the Broncos defense. As we look at it on paper, it's supposed to be one heck of a defense. So I'm not worried about it at all.
Nor am I. I think it's good. I like it. Bo Nix not backing down, and neither are his soldiers on offense. Today, in particular, a lot of guys John at each other, teammates, right? It's competitive. It's all in good. It's good natured. Let's put it that way. Although they are dying to even this early stage, day 5, they're already just like, dude, can you put another team in front of us, please? But still, I thought it was interesting hearing what Marvin Mims said today at the podium. To paraphrase it, I can read it here in a minute, but he said that basically, Malcolm Roach doing a lot of talking out on the grass, and
Yeah.
who was responding a lot on the other side of the ball? Newcomer, J.K. Dobbins, the running back. So those two going at it, which I think is good. You want to see the passions hot. You want to see that the competitive juices flowing, so to speak. Tom, and we got the Papa Bear jumping in. What's up, David McElrath, in the house with a generous super chat. Also a member. Thank you, pal. He says, good evening, Broncos country, 13-4, plus, 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 plus. Even though it's just the first week of camp, I can't freaking contain myself. Amen to that, brother. Amen to that, David.
Yeah. You should be excited. Like I said, David, it is a good time of the year. And let's face it, there's no quarterback to worry about. We've got a good quarterback in Bo Nix. The coach is solid. You've got many returning players who were young, and now they're a year older, a year in the system, who played pretty well as rookies or young players. So everything is pointing upward for this team. Plus, you got some good assistant coaches who have more time in under their belt here in Mile High City. So you should be excited. And I'm for one, I cannot wait for that first game of the season. I'm a big preseason guy. I love watching preseason, but not for the reasons just to watch football. But when the first game of the season rolls around, that's when you know the kind of the quality of the team when you see that first game.
Dude, I can't wait. And the young guys, like, opportune injuries. Eric just had an article about this, how injuries, especially in training camp, but really in the NFL, they create opportunity. And that has been illustrated the last couple of days by Lavell Bailey, the second-year linebacker from Fresno State, who, we're learning now in retrospect. We didn't hear the whole story initially, but we're learning now a year plus down the road that Sean Payton had to sing for his supper to get him to sign with the Broncos. He was pretty hotly pursued as a college free agent, but he joined the Broncos, made the team out of camp, thanks in part, Tom, to that, what was it, a 94-yard pick six against the Cardinals in the preseason finale. But Then, he's kind of stashed on the practice squad, even though that you had the injuries to Singleton and Josie Jewell had departed in the spring. You didn't really see him on the grass in the regular season, but dude, with Singleton going down, Drew Sanders going down, not only is opportunity knocking for Lavell Bailey, but Carp Diem, he's seasoned the day so far, dude. What are your thoughts on Bailey?
Well, I don't know if you remember this, but back in January, I wrote an article about him and one other guy who were going to step up and take a major role. Yeah, that was before any of these injuries happened, and
Yep.
I was high on him because one, he's a playmaker, and that's what this defense really needs is someone who can make plays, and you could see that he did that in college, and you could see it in the preseason. So he needed a little bit more time under his belt. Good in coverage. And where he was lacking was a little bit of that instinctual sideline to sideline range. Even though he's athletic, he needed a little bit more seasoning. And you're seeing that in training camp. You're seeing him being able to attack the run better than he did last year. And I think that was probably why he didn't get as much playing time on defense, is he needed to develop that area. So I'm pretty excited about him. I thought he might step into a starting role even without the injuries. But it looks like he could make Alex Singleton expendable if he continues to progress and Singleton's still on the sidelines.
That's right. In that article let's date this bad boy. That was January 19th. So the off season was a brand new baby. It was in its infancy. You tapped Bailey and you tapped Ioma Uwazurike. So interestingly enough, Tom, we just talked about Bailey. And by the way, real quick, I love seeing in Denver inside linebackers wearing the number 56 because I'm reminded of Smoke Dog Al Wilson, and it just brings back the good old days. But you also mentioned Uwazurike, who, Tom, has also garnered some pretty significant praise thus far, including from his head coach. So we were a little bit worried. We knew the Broncos had really solid starting three up front on the defensive line. Weren't quite as sure about the depth. Savion Jones comes in. That kind of helps alleviate some things in the draft. Uwazurike, though, could be turning a corner because he's got to remember, he spent a year chilling, right? He was suspended for the gambling thing, et cetera, et cetera. Last year, according to Sean Payton, still took him some time to kind of get his football legs back underneath him after spending a year just chilling. And here he is making hay.
And that's why I think why I looked at him as someone the team really saw a future in, right? He was suspended. I didn't think he'd play another down, but he was reinstated. They brought him right back in late to training camp. He didn't have that time to really impress. He still stayed on the roster. They still kept him on the roster. They gave him more playing time as the year went on. So they think he's got a bright future. He oozes athleticism for his size. He's got the length. He's got everything you want from a defensive lineman standpoint. I mean, he's got all the tools. He just hadn't been able to develop because of that suspension. Well, he's got a full offseason under his belt now, and he got to play a little bit last year. So you're starting to see what the coaches were seeing in him now here in training camp. Now, will he be a starter? Probably not, but he should be very much in the rotation and hopefully a future guy down the road if he can continue to keep moving up with his development and not get in any more gambling trouble, of course.
Keep your nose clean. Keep your nose clean. Hey, Mr. Producer, I'm wondering if you could find that clip because I could read what Mims said about Malcolm Roach. It's kind of funny, but it would be way better if you could find the clip of him saying it. I think it's like, I don't know, minute and a half in type thing. But while Mr. Producer's searching that out, let's grab this from our buddy String Guy. What's going on, big dog? Great to see you tonight. Hope you're doing well. He says, Chad or Thomas, is there any news on who's in the lead for the wide receiver 2 spot? I don't think there's any news per se, but there's some developments that are leaving us some breadcrumbs to follow, including Troy Franklin, I would say, has probably had the most riser kind of. I'm waiting a couple more days before I write up a risers and fallers from the first week of training camp because technically this was day 5. We'll get through day 7, then I'll write it up. But he would be at the top of the list on offense. Troy Franklin, back-to-back days, albeit, Tom, in one-on-ones. First-round pick getting smoked by Franklin. Zade Barron getting smoked in one-on-one. So remember, dude, it's like so difficult to stop anything in one-on-ones. Like you're so disadvantaged as a cornerback. The quarterback knows what the break's going to be. The receiver knows where the break's going to be, and you're just kind of holding on for dear life. But still, it seems like it's pointing in the Troy Franklin direction. And yet, Tom, whatever it was 2 days ago, Sean Payton's going, let's pump the brakes on the Troy Franklin headlines. You know, he's doing well, but let's pump the brakes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he's a smaller guy, so once the pads go on and there's some press coverage and things like that, he may not shine as much. So I want to see a little bit more out of him. I think he's done everything so far that he needs to do to get better. It seems like he's catching the ball better. You know, he's put on some weight. So, you know, he's earning his reps so far. I'm pretty happy about that. As far as a wide receiver 2 spot, when I think about it, I feel like it's still Mims. I feel like Marvin Mims was progressing towards the end of the season well enough. They've figured out how to use him pretty well. He's gotten better. I feel like it's his job to lose at this point, even though he's being pushed by Franklin, Pat Bryant, Lavell Bailey. He's got such a dynamic ability that you shouldn't keep him off of the field. He needs to be on the field as much as possible, and you need to get the ball in his hands. So if he can continue to keep that route tree growing like he was towards the end of the season, I think that they're going to put him in that wide receiver 2 spot. But that's just my feeling. I haven't been there at training camp this year, unfortunately, so I don't know, but that's just my feeling.
We'll see. Lavell Bailey is also – it's weird when you hear the tonality, not just the content of what a coach like Sean Payton says about these guys, but the tonality with which he says it. In the case of Franklin, as I mentioned, he's like, oh, kind of pump the brakes. You bring up Lavell Bailey, and he's like, oh, you know, yeah, he's great. Everything's just come so easy to him, you know, like da-da-da. So it's like, okay, he got some favorites? Or is this maybe, Tom, some Parcellian school of football psychology here where he's trying to kind of not show the – like coaches and leaders for that matter of any sort, but especially coaches in a competitive kind of setting, you know, some players are better motivated through withholding the praise or criticism or writing them, whereas others, you get more out of them if you shower them with praise or constantly compliment them, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe it's something like that, but Bailey's getting a lot of praise, although it's got to be mentioned here, Tom, didn't practice today. He wasn't at practice. So before we went live here, I was working on an article for Eric. I haven't seen any updates on why he missed, and we didn't get to hear from Coach Payton after today's practice. So hopefully it's just one of those, to quote Sean Payton, load management issues where because he did come into camp on the heels of a very recent ankle injury, right? Because he missed the mandatory mini camp as a result of that. But we'll find out about Bailey tomorrow. But it seems like Mims, I agree with you. Mims should be given that opportunity based on how he finished last season. Not given, but you know, it's his job to lose type of situation. But man, Franklin's he's just doing well every single day without fail.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, that's to me, Franklin is one of those players who I was really worried about. I know people liked him and you know, he had a good college career. He was part of the Knicks family, so to speak. You know, he threw the ball to him plenty in college, but there were some issues that I had with him that made me worry about whether he was even going to make the team this year. But it seems like he's answered those questions pretty well. Number one, he doesn't seem to be dropping the ball like he was, so that's huge. And you know, like I said, he's gotten bigger. He seems to be able to see the field better, play a little bit better when he's out there so far in training camp. I still worry a little bit about his size. I think he's kind of like, if they can figure out a way to get him the ball like they did Mims, I think that would be a lot more advantageous to Franklin. But for me, for that wide receiver 2 spot, you got to have somebody that is reliable and very dynamic. And I think that's Mims.
We got The Rock checking in on Facebook. So good to see you, Mike. Hope you are doing well. He says, good evening, Chad and Thomas on the Mile High Insiders. Go Bo Broncos, dude. So awesome to see you. Some other hellos real quick. David, I think, already had to split, but David Youngkins, great to see you. We shouted out the Papa Bear again. Props for the super chat. Pearl's in the house. Great to see you. MBLEX in the house. Great to see you. Let me see here. String guy, we shouted out already. C Chang, what's going on? Stoked to see you. I want to grab this from our longtime friend. It's probably Albert, right? Not Albert and Michelle. I mean, that's the handle, but I bet you it's Albert, right? Because they're both big Broncos fans, trust. But I'm guessing it's the Mile High Dutchie, as he is now known, saying, hello, y'all. I heard some rumors about linebacker injuries. Did you already cover that? I mean, beyond the reports and what we know, right? I mean, Drew Sanders, ligament, not a tendon, seeking outside opinions, going to miss upwards of 8 weeks. And then Singleton with the thumb on the first padded practice, broke his thumb, went under the knife yesterday to correct that. And he'll be in a club when he comes out of this, but he'll only miss about a week, and then he'll be in the club cast. And the reason why he can't just jump back in right away if he's going to put a club on it is they got to give that wound, that incision, time to heal. Then they strap a club on and it goes out. So that's pretty much it. Nothing that I know about happening today, Tom.
Yeah, I haven't heard any more injuries, but you got to be careful with that club. I don't know. I know it was the tip of his finger, but Carl Mecklenburg wore a club during the season after he broke his thumb, and he said that it got pulled on and nearly ripped his thumb completely off. So you've got to be very careful wearing that club. So hopefully, they take it easy for him coming back. Probably not the same situation because it was broken more towards the end of his thumb, so maybe not going to happen. But yeah, you hopefully the Broncos are smart and ease him back into it a little bit and don't just throw him back out there and right into the middle of padded practice.
Dude, I remember Vaughn wore a club his rookie year too. Do you remember that? 2011.
Von Miller?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I thought, was that his rookie year?
I'm pretty sure it might have been year 2, but I'm pretty sure it was tail end of his rookie year. And yeah, dude, that's hold on. Von Miller, where's club, Broncos? Let me see. Dang it. I'll have to search it, but I'm pretty sure it was his rookie year, toward the tail end of his rookie year. He still won defensive rookie of the year and all that good jazz. But yeah, dude, that I can't imagine, man. The thumb almost getting ripped off. Dude, Mecklenburg, an animal, dude. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Love that.
Absolutely.
Here's Mr. Producer. Yeah, rookie year from 2011. This is a injury update. Broncos linebacker Von Miller, December 2nd, back at practice today, just 3 days after surgery to repair torn ligaments in his thumb. And so, yeah, that last little stretch of the season, which included, this was the Tebow season, right? Included that Pittsburgh game, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, it might have been off by the time they got to the Patriots blowout, but yeah. Those come to mind. In Singleton's case, here's to hoping, Tom, that he won't have to wear it by the time you get to the season, but who knows?
Yeah. Let's hope not, because it's cumbersome. I mean, he's not a takeaway kind of guy as it is, but with a club on, it's going to be much harder for anything like that to happen.
So here's what Mims said today. Again, good-natured. You'll see him smiling, but the chirping, Malcolm Roach, these guys are locker neighbors, next-door neighbors.
It's just Malcolm Roach. I mean, I sit next to him in the locker room. The guy doesn't shut up. He's talking crap to receivers. It's like, dude, you're a fat guy. Go worry about that. Leave me alone. But, no, we're always going back and forth. But with him, it's just a whole nother deal.
There you have it. You're a fat guy. Worry about that. But he's just joking, right? Look, this is locker room talk. And frankly, Tom, this is the way dudes who are friends talk to each other like that. You're always razzing each other and kind of pecking at each other's insecurities, and it's all in good fun. And at the end of the day, you're still going to step in front of a bus for your buddy or whatever, right? So there's no drama to be found here, but it is interesting to hear that it's Roach being one of the most vocal guys out there chirping, and Mims is like, dude, I've heard enough. Stop.
I love it, man. I love that because that shows camaraderie, because it's fun. It's not, someone's not just being a jerk. They've got some camaraderie. They feel comfortable to do that. And on top of it, Roach, from what I understand, has really been shining in training camp. He's gotten a little bit better than he was last year, which was a surprise to me from that signing. I did not expect him to be as good as he was. So it's good to see that he's kind of stepping into that role a little bit more as he's gotten better. He probably feels a lot more comfortable. And again, he feels more comfortable around his teammates in order to say things like that. And you really don't unless you're being a jerk if you're not comfortable around your teammates.
Well said. Phil McLaughlin in the house. What's up, brother? Great to see you tonight. He says, good evening, Chad, Tom, and Deacon Scott. Love hearing that Green Law plays like Mike Tyson. We need a dog, and maybe he can be the one. Yeah, Tom, I got to get your thoughts on this. So yesterday, was it yesterday? No, it was Monday following practice. Sean Payton, he's getting asked about Dre Green Law, and of course the Tyson thing. He said, quote, he plays like Mike Tyson. He's tough, he's physical, he's built that way, etc. And then you get to later, within a few minutes, Greenlaw's at the podium and they ask him, hey, what do you think about Peyton saying that you play like Mike Tyson? He goes, yeah, I've gotten that before for sure. And so in tandem, Tom, with what Sean Payton said on Saturday, might have been Friday, but the last practice or two before the pads went on, he's like, yeah, some players, really express themselves when the pads go on, and Greenlaw is definitely one of those guys. So he's got the Derek Wolfe, don't ever what with us mentality. Yeah,
and they needed that. I mean, they had a great defense last year, but they needed that kind of more of a, I don't know, enforcer with an attitude and someone who could back it up as well. I mean, this guy can hit, he can cover. He's everything you really need in that inside linebacker spot, and brings that edge. So for me, when Pat Surtain was on the ground and I think it was Gabe Davis stepped over him after that completion, and nobody did anything. That was that Greenlaw wouldn't stand for that, and that's what somebody needs. That's what this team really needed. So the signing was great in the fact that he's a great player and he fits that need that the Broncos have been missing with that coverage ability. But he takes it one step further, and that's why might be the most important signing in the offseason if he stays healthy.
Do you remember it was either I can't recall if it was 16 or 17, but that game where Harry, what was that wide receiver? I'm blanking on his last name, but he went at Chris Harris Jr.'s knees. Total dirty play. Scott, what's his name, dude? He was one of the NFC South guy. I can't believe I'm blanking on his last name. His name's Harry, for crying out loud. It's Douglas. Yeah. Harry Douglas.
Yes.
And Talib just went after him because it was totally dirty. Like, it was away from the flow of the play. Harris had his eyes toward where it was opposite the field, and Douglas just decided, I'm going to try and take this dude's career away. And Talib, man, let him have it. You remember that?
Oh yeah. Talib was one of those guys that, you didn't want to get on his bad side because he was ready to throw down at any second, but he could have backed it up too, man. A heck of a player, and he earned the right to be that guy because he was out there. He leads the Broncos in touchdowns returned on interceptions, even only being there for a few years. So he was fun to watch in the orange and blue, but man, he wasn't that fun to watch if he wasn't on your team.
Do you think he belongs in the Ring of Fame?
Man, that's a tough one for me, only because his time was so short.
Yeah, but John Lynch, right? And Peyton.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of John Lynch getting in, unfortunately. I know that he got in, but I kind of shook my head with that. But yeah, you're right. John Lynch is in. Talib could be in there. I think there's a few people that should be ahead of him.
Yeah.
But down the road, it's a possibility. But Talib comes with a little bit more baggage than John Lynch. He's got himself in trouble a few times. But from this play on the field and what he did for the no-fly zone, yeah, absolutely. I just think that short a time period is a little bit iffy. Now, Peyton Manning's different. I mean, he was there for a short time too, but he completely changed the entire face of the organization. I mean, I understand that. So I'm on the fence about Talib in the Ring of Fame.
I love this. Talib will snatch a chain at the drop of the hat. Just ask Michael Crabtree, right? Those were good days, man.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right, let me get back to day 5 here. Now, I mentioned that Bailey wasn't out there. Rookie outside linebacker, Q Robinson also wasn't out there.
Yep.
And it's worth mentioning that he was seen leaving practice, after practice, I should say, yesterday. So after day 4, limping off the field, not early, but as the team was going off, it was like, ooh, he's limping a little bit. So we don't know yet exactly what's going on with those guys because, again, Sean Payton didn't speak today. But even if he had spoken, you know how he is about revealing much, if anything,
Right.
about injuries that he doesn't have to. But, yeah, we learned also today that, we've talked about Bailey. We've talked about the physical nature of today's practice, kind of mirroring yesterday, although a lot of guys are saying today was the most physical. But Trent Sherfield, Tom, so the free agent signed ostensibly, at least the way it was billed, to be kind of the replacement for Tremont Smith, who departed, where to go? Houston, I think, on special teams, right? But he's a wide receiver by trade. Sean Payton praised him a few days ago, talking about how it's rare to find a wide receiver who's as explosively fast as Sherfield is, who's also not only a willing blocker, but a good blocker, and how he's going to have a seat at the table. And that's kind of been proven up to this point, not just a guy that's like, oh, hey, he's the 8th receiver to take a rep today. Like, he's involved in what's happening, and he's making plays. He caught a nice 25-yard pass from Bo Nix today, moving the chains in the 3rd and long drills. Like, Sherfield, how does he fit in, you think?
Well, I mean, his special teams ability is going to keep him on the roster no matter what. Even if he wasn't a great wide receiver or even a pretty good one, that's being able to do that keeps people on teams. So that's huge. But if he can be like the 5th wide receiver, because right now you've got 4 pretty solid ones, but if he could somehow find his way into the 5th wide receiver, he'll get some time on the offense. But I know he's being praised a lot, but I doubt they're going to use him extensively just because they've got a lot of other people in front of him.
Yeah, and here's what's interesting about him. So he is, 18, 19, 20. So he's in his 8th year. For his career as a receiver, he's got 86 receptions for 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. And last year in Minnesota on a competitive team, he only had 9 targets. He caught 8 of them for 83 yards and a touchdown, but it's never really been an aspect that teams relied on much with him. His career high was in 2022 in Miami. He had 30 receptions for 400 yards and a couple of scores, but maybe it took Tom. We'll see, because as you mentioned, it's kind of a logjam a little bit there at wide receiver in a good way. Right, you got Cortland Sutton. We already talked about Bailey. You got Franklin. You got Mims. You got Pat Bryant. So that's already 5 deep. You're going to carry 6 probably anyway, just as you mentioned. Even if he couldn't offer anything on at wide receiver, they're carrying him as a receiver for his special team stuff. But dude, he might kind of battle up that depth chart, or it could even be that Sean Payton just finds fun ways to use him on offense, because he does have a unique skill set. It's just hard to kind of peg best way to use him. And Sean Payton, being the creative mind that he is, it wouldn't shock me if all of a sudden he has himself a season.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think someone's going to have to get injured for him to have a lot, unless Franklin isn't what people are saying is at camp. Once the real game start, he's kind of back to what he was as a rookie, and he drops down to the depth chart. It's going to be tough. There's only so many passes that can go around. You got Ingram, you've got Sutton, you've got Mims, and you got Bailey. And then after that, I mean, those are your top 4 receiver targets, most likely. After that, you're only going to get, even if you're the 4th or 5th guy there, you're not going to get that many targets. So I would say that he might be creative to get him some touches, but I'm not looking for him to have a 30 catch season like he had in Miami. I think you said. It would be hard to see that. Now, injuries, I hope they don't happen, but if they do, then maybe you'll see some of his receiving skills out there on the field a lot more often.
So shifting gears here, running back competition, basically since the draft, all anyone in Broncos country has really wanted to focus on is RJ Harvey. And then that's been augmented by the late in the offseason edition of J.K. Dobbins. And so those two guys have kind of been viewed as the no-brainer assumed 1-2 punch in Peyton's running back committee. But the last couple of days, Tom, things have been heating up, and the incumbent running backs on this roster, they're not going quietly into that good night. And Audric Estime especially has stacked 2 really good days. Today was arguably his best day from what I've been told. And Jaleel McLaughlin, Blake Watson, the only one I haven't really heard much about since the pads went on, which again is another position that Sean Payton's like, hey, when it comes to running back, you guys are going to see it as quickly as we do when the pads come on, like who's thriving, who's not. We haven't heard much about Bidet, but otherwise, like today, Estime, McLaughlin, Watson all had a good day, and so did RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins. But it's interesting to see the fight that's going on for these reps.
And I was high on Blake Watson last year. I thought that he was, they kept him around again, like Wazirike when they didn't have to. He's a like Jaleel McLaughlin, but a little bit thicker. So I thought, maybe he ends up being that third guy. And then he just kind of, hasn't been talked about and just kind of like, I don't know, it seemed like the odd man out. But now that he's making some noise, I wouldn't be surprised to see him kind of shoot up that depth chart. I still think it's McLaughlin as that third guy, but I'm glad to see it's a stiff competition, because that means you're going to have whoever makes that third spot is going to be out there ready to roll and can really fill in and do some damage when needed.
No doubt. It's good, man. Like if a guy honestly, that's probably the best. You need Audric Estime. If he's your number one guy, maybe it could end up being a lacking running back room relative to the way Sean Payton likes to do it. Jaleel McLaughlin, they're best served as number 3 and number 4 guys, honestly, in a pecking order. Although McLaughlin does have some twitch to him. And the same for Bidet, but again, we haven't heard much about him. It'll be interesting to see how the games play out starting not this coming weekend, but the next. The other aspect, Tom, is that Garrett Bowles first of all, Quinn Miners hinted at this early last week when training camp they were reporting. And then Bowles talked about it, how the outside zone, the stretch, dude, and the outside zone has been a special emphasis in the installs this year in training camp. So it's almost like, hey, are we getting some elements of the Mike Shanahan offense back in Denver, Tom? I mean, Sean Payton's always been known as more of a power guy, but what do you think?
I would love it, man. Bring back the old Shanahan zone blocking scheme, the wide zone. It's if you do it right, if you have the right mix of offensive linemen and the running back, you can destroy teams. But you got to have those guys that can read really well. And I think part of it was Javonte Williams maybe was lacking in that area, not really being able to read, so they didn't do it as much. But if RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins are up to that, I'd love to see it. And two, I think they're built for more of a power back, but I think some of these guys are athletic enough. Like Wattenberg, I think is athletic enough. I think Miners, even though he's a little bit heavier, is plenty athletic. I think they could probably handle that kind of transition. I'd like to see a good mix, because I think they could do both. And but bringing that back. It's music to my ears, because I that was my heyday back when I was watching the Broncos.
Phil, after hearing Philip Lindsay, we touched on this a little bit last night. I wasn't aware of this, but it might have been Phil who brought it to my attention. But after hearing Philip Lindsay calling out Estime for pouting because he's no longer the top guy on the depth chart as a result of Harvey and Dobbins, if he is having attitude, will that lead to cutting him? It would lead to cutting him, I think, Phil, if it impacted his production. And Philip Lindsay's a good example of this. He recently kind of aired some dirty laundry about how his big contract with the Broncos fell through, and it ended up going to Melvin Gordon, and how it pissed him off, and it basically ruined that last year he was in Denver because he was so focused on that and so just miffed and hurt and pissed off that happened, that it compromised his focus, and it led to him having an injury-prone season and all that. So Lindsey would know what the result of focusing on things you shouldn't can have, especially on a running back's outlook. But in the case of Audric Estime, maybe he was pouting. I don't know. Philip Lindsay obviously is a lot more plugged into locker rooms and what's going on there in Denver as a guy now on the Fan, 104.3 The Fan. But whatever it is, Tom, keep doing it, because Estime's done well, especially since the pads have gone on. It's no surprise. Estime, all of a sudden, he's a guy that you notice, and it makes sense because he's a power guy. Like, he's a give me the contact guy. And even Sean Payton, right before they signed Dobbins, was like, hey, man, yeah, that's the kind of back Estime is. He needs more. He needs to be given multiple touches to get into a rhythm. We weren't always able to do that for him last year, but he's going to get those opportunities this year. And then the next day, oh, Dobbins in for a visit, and it's kind of like, well, like Scott loves to say, it's follow what they do, not what they say. But what are your thoughts here for Phil?
Yeah, I mean, the pouting's not going to win him any points, that's for sure. If he's having an attitude, it's definitely going to weigh on the coach's minds when you're choosing between two running backs who are, kind of even. Yeah, you don't want the attitude person. But I'll tell you, the one thing that's going to get him cut faster than anything is he can't hold on to the football like he did last year. I mean, that got him in the doghouse. If he starts fumbling in training camp, he's gone. I don't think they're going to take any chances on him. They'll be okay with an attitude if he's producing to a certain extent, but if he starts fumbling again, I don't think they're going to tolerate that for very long.
Stream Guide, there's only one cut down now, and it's at the very end of August. So when the whole final roster cuts, I think it's like late August, 26, 27, something like that. So when they whittle it down from 90 to the final 53, that's the only big cut down that they're mandated to do. Now, you do start seeing the cuts coming about a week before that, Tom. You'll see teams start churning because they want to churn and get things moving so that they can see if anything else out there maybe gets kicked loose to help their team. So, but that's when the final roster cut downs are, and it's only one now. Yeah. When did that change? Wasn't that around the pandemic when they went from 4 to 3 preseason games? So it's been that way for a couple years.
Yeah. And you'll see veterans will get cut a little early because they're giving them a chance to go catch on in another team. If they don't have them in their plans, they'll do that early. But yeah, it's nice too, because that last preseason game now is pretty much no starters or very few, and it gives a chance for a lot of these young guys to play. But if you're doing a big cut down before that, you don't have as many of those young guys there to go out there and showcase themselves like they can now. So I'm kind of happy with that one cut down, but it is kind of strange, because I've been so used to the first cut down and then the second cut down, and pretty much my entire football life watching that. So it is strange to see it.
How do you feel though? And then I'm going to grab an interesting question from David Vasquez here, but how do you feel about them whittle? I mean, this is old news, guys, but you're a traditionalist, much like me when it comes to football. How did you feel about them whittling the preseason from 4 to 3 games?
Yeah, I've seen it keep getting chopped down as it goes along. I liked it. What I didn't like so much is adding a 17th game. For me, when you play 17 games, there's more chances to break records. It just doesn't seem the same. But they've went from 12 to 14 to 16, and now so they're going to be at 18. So I think 3 preseason games is good. 2 would be fine. I think that's a little light, but I like the 3-season format better than the 4, just because that fourth game was just a bunch of people that weren't going to make the team out there playing. It's fun to watch, but it never is quality football. So
yeah,
it doesn't bother me. How about you?
I think it's a good format. Honestly, I think whittling it down to 3 gives the coaches and the players themselves who are trying to make a name for themselves the exact number of opportunities they need to make that name for themselves, and for coaches to learn what's what. For the entrenched starters like, Bo Nix, You might see him a little bit in the first game, maybe a series. You'll see him, whatever you do see him in the preseason, it's going to be that second game. And now the third game is that final, hey guys, this is your last chance. And it seems like it has a little bit more urgency to it, right? Like a little bit more oomph. The unfortunate side effect is, you end up waiting longer for the preseason games to get here. But that's how I feel. Now, David wants to know, when it comes to Bo Nix, Tom, who is going to be the go-to guy? So it's, 3rd and 7. You got to move the chains. He drops back. Is he looking Sutton's way or Evan Ingram's way first?
It's got to be Sutton. I mean, I like Ingram, but they brought Sutton back for a reason, which was a surprise to me. I thought they were going to wait and see how Pat Bryant really kind of looked and wait on that contract. But he was the first one to get signed, which was a huge surprise to me over deserving defensive players like Benito and Zach Allen. They brought him back because there is a chemistry between Nix and Sutton. And Sutton is a solid wide receiver. Ingram, I think, is a valuable player, but I don't think he's going to have the season that most people think that he's going to have. And Sutton is going to be that kind of 1,000-yard guy. He's going to get those third down looks. That's, from my perspective. Ingram may surprise me, but I think he's going to be more of a, kind of a 60 catches, 700-yard type receiver. And, you're just not going to get as many opportunities to be that go-to guy, where Sutton's going to get all the opportunities.
Man, I wasn't sure what to make of Ingram in terms of, I knew he was going to be a factor. He's going to be a big part of the offense and whatnot, like third down, pass catcher. A Peyton offense isn't the same without a guy like that at tight end. But the way he's been getting looks in the preseason or in the training camp practices when they go to team from Bo Nix, I agree with you that go-to guy will remain Sutton for as long as Sutton stays a Bronco. And he's currently slated under contract through Bo Nix's rookie deal. So he's here for the long haul. It seems anyway. Sutton's going to be that guy, but the last few days, Tom, I got to admit, I'm not trying to pick holes in your argument. I'm just saying I've all of a sudden gone, well, wait a minute. I think Sean Payton, maybe it's just him having fun with his new toy, and the same for Bo Nix early on. But it's like, man, they got something cooking, I think, for old Evan Ingram. So it's just a matter really of, does he stay healthy? Can he stay healthy? Can he stay on the field like he did in 2023, where he caught 114 balls and just shy of 1,000 yards?
Yeah, and Sutton hasn't been out there as much until he got his contract too. So he was kind of vacant from some of these group, these 11 on 11 and stuff. So you may see that kind of shift again. But you remember the article I wrote when I went and did the analytics, looking at the difference between Ingram's third down prowess, so to speak, versus the tight ends that the Broncos had on the team last year, and it was night and day. And I wrote at the time that Ingram I know Green Law, I said Green Law earlier, but it might be Ingram that ends up being, I think it's a pretty neck and neck race to turn it to who's going to be the most valuable pickup between him and Greenlaw, because of his third down abilities and how vacant it was from last year. But if you look at those same numbers, Sutton had double or more opportunities than Ingram had even in Jacksonville last year, even though he was a good third down guy. So I think Ingram's going to have opportunity, but I don't see how they could not keep going to Sutton like they have been, because he's made those catches that need to be made. I know he's dropped a few and it's frustrating, but he's the guy that Bo Nix trusts.
I just dropped that link that Tom referenced in the chat, guys, after the stream, and we're getting pretty close. So consider this your 2-minute warning. Get your burning questions in or topics, but give it a read when we get off, because some interesting stuff, just the numbers about not only the Broncos, how kind of piss poor the Broncos tight ends were for Bo Nix on third down, but then the flip side of that coin in terms of Evan Ingram relative to third down, and Tom's summation of it. I would read it right now, but I want you instead to go read the article. It's really interesting. Give it a read when you get some time. And thanks for the question there. David Ronk says Bo Nix didn't have a tight end like Evan Ingram. No. He had a decent tight end at Oregon. Ferguson, he had a decent connection there. I think Bo Nix is going to like having that availability and the kind of separation and opportunities that'll come inside more from Evan Ingram. But Sutton's still going to be, hey, the chips are down. I got to move the chains, at least initially, Tom. I mean, who knows? We'll see as the season progresses. After all, Sutton and Nix only have one season together, but man, it's going to be fun. They needed that. Like, against all odds, if you would have asked me this time last year, and anyone who's been listening to my show for a long time knows I was a goo goo gaga guy over Bo Nix before they even drafted him. I was stoked. I was excited, but I didn't anticipate, Tom, that offense being a top 10 scoring offense with Bo Nix as a rookie. Now, there is a caveat to that. They finished 10th, so they're barely top 10. So that's one caveat. Caveat number 2 is that number it also includes any points that are scored by the defense. And off the top of my head, I can think of 3 defensive scores last year, 2 of which were Bonito. One was a Pat Surtain pick 6. So, you know, you minus whatever that is, 21 points off the top. Maybe they're not top 10. Maybe they're top 12. But even then, Tom, I didn't expect it. Honestly, I did not expect a top 15 scoring offense with Bo as a rookie. So, really exciting.
Yeah, me as well. I thought, I mean, I was skeptical of the pick. I wasn't a huge Bo Nix guy, and he blew me away. I mean, and this is the thing I keep saying on these. You listen to these other people that still can't bring themselves to say Bo Nix was pretty good last year because how they didn't like him in the draft. Well, you got to finally go. You got to change your mind at some point when you see what he did last year. So I'm with you. I was surprised with how well he played last year, seeing the fact that he had no running game and no tight ends to speak of. And you look at it. You look at the scatter plot. If you do find that article that I created of all the tight ends, the team's tight ends, and you can see that Denver was they knew they weren't very good. They weren't very good, and they knew it because they didn't target them. I mean, it was just like, okay, they're like, yeah, you guys are an okay group, but we're not going to go to you at all. So you didn't have tight end last year, no running game, and Bo Nix was learning on the fly, and it took him a while to get his legs under him, and yet he still came out and threw 29 touchdowns and took that team to a playoff, and had one of the better quarterback seasons for a rookie in the history of the NFL. It blew me away. I did not see that coming.
By the way, I just realized, guys, the first link I shared saying go read Tom's article was the wrong article. So I just dropped the correct one in the chat. It's showing on our end that it's shared to all the channels we're streaming to. So the 2 MHH Facebook accounts, YouTube and Twitch, give it a read. All right, one more here, and then we'll do some shout-outs and dip on out from Graham. Are you concerned about the cornerback depth beyond Pat Surtain and Zadeh Barron? I got to tell you, Tom, of all the positions that I am could be concerned with, cornerback is amongst the least because Riley Moss is having himself a summer. Surtain obviously returns as Defensive Player of the Year, defending that. Barron coming in as a first-round pick, and, his head's kind of getting spun around on him a little bit right now, but he'll acclimate. And once you get to actual game settings, again, when we talk about Troy Franklin burning him, these are one-on-ones. Right. Go to a Senior Bowl and watch the receivers and cornerbacks go at it, and, man, it's hard for a cornerback to win those. And when they do, you're like, whoa. Nick talked about that yesterday. But Barron, Surtain, Moss is looking like the top 3, and then if your next guy on the field is Jaquan McMillan, you got a good depth chart. Then throw in Chris Abrams-Drain. I like that top 5. The 6th guy, I mean, Damari Mathis, especially, Tom, when you look at the contract, the incentive the Broncos have to move him off the roster, because whatever it was, his 2022 season, I think it was, where he got all that playing time, and so it bumped his contract up into a different level, escalated it. So they can save something like, I don't have it right in front of me, but $3 million and change by not having Damari Mathis on the roster. So he's got to really shine to stick around. But I like the way this cornerback depth chart is shaping up.
Absolutely. I'm with you 100% because, I mean, for me, Moss is probably your outside guy. Barron's, your nickel guy. And then you've got McMillan, who isn't a great player, but he's a solid player. He played pretty darn well the last 2 seasons, even though he had some struggles. You've got that. Plus, from what you're seeing is they're moving Moss and Barron around. So they're putting Moss inside and outside. They're putting Barron inside and outside. So if something does happen to one of the guys, you've got that versatility so they can spread out there, and then you can bring McMillan in, who is a solid player. And yeah, I mean, nobody's going to be solid at their 5th or 6th cornerback group. I mean, it doesn't happen. But Damari Mathis, when he had his opportunities, wasn't terrible. He wasn't a Levi Wallace. No. And then I like Chris Abrams-James, like you said. I liked what he showed in that last game that he got to play in. I thought he played pretty well for he was a 7th round rookie, I think.
5th.
So 5th round rookies, yeah, okay. And so I think they have a pretty solid depth chart at cornerback. So I'm not worried at all. Plus you've got really good safeties that you can move around. So if you've got some weaknesses at cornerback due to injury, you can put another safety out there instead. So I think they've got a pretty solid group in the secondary to show up any weaknesses that they may have.
And no, U.S. Dave, in case you're not seeing the response there from Graham, they did not bring Levi Wallace back. He's gone. So anyway, great show. Thank you guys. Ronk jumping in with some support here, saying great show tonight, Chad and Thomas on Mile High Insiders. Go Bo Broncos. Thank you, Big Dog, and thanks to each and every one of you that spent some time with us. Shout out to the supporters and superstars like the Papa Bear, the Ronk I just mentioned, Phil. Love you guys so much. Thank you for being with us tonight. And tomorrow is Thursday, so Zach and I will be back in the house. It'll be fun. I'm coming out of the bullpen like basically every day. It wouldn't surprise me this week anyway if like I get a call for Friday with Eric and Lance. Probably not. Those guys are pretty I can't even think of the last time it wasn't those two together. But nevertheless, I've had a lot of fun. And Tom, you and I, we've done 3 or 4 of these this off season. It's been fun, dude. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Oh, it's been great. Yeah, we didn't get it on a show for years, and then now it's like 3 or 4 times in just a few short periods. So yeah, I appreciate it. It's fun having you on here, and I'm looking forward to the next few podcasts because I think some pretty fun stuff is going to come out to talk about.
Yeah, by the time you get to Mile High Insiders next week, you're going to be a couple days removed from the first preseason game against the Niners. So, it's coming quick, guys. So thanks for sticking with MHH. Don't forget to check in and follow the main account on X at Mile High Huddle. Do the same on Facebook. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. Also, you can grab a t-shirt. You can grab a hat on mhhmerch.com. We're doing a lot on Instagram. We're doing a lot on TikTok with Mile High Huddle. So find us there. And this is huge right now with the season coming on, guys. Even if you listen to the shows mostly on YouTube or Facebook, if you have an Apple phone, open up the podcast and find us and leave us a 5-star. If you're not an Apple guy, do that on Spotify or do it on both if you can. It helps us out a lot in terms of the algorithm. And last but not least, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe. And if we did a really good job, share it out there to your friends and family and help us reach new like-minded Broncos fans who are out there wandering the desert. They don't even know where this community's here waiting for them. So that's the best way to help us reach them. And of course, if you haven't yet, become a member. We've got on YouTube, we got Broncos Book Club coming up on Saturday. If you want to get that first chapter of Mike Kliss's new Elway book, The Elway Years, that's the first book we're starting with. We're going to read the first chapter. We're going to meet on Saturday, this coming Saturday, to discuss what we learned and just kind of have a good time. Lots more coming on that front for members, but don't forget to do that. And obviously, make sure you're following Thomas Hall on X at Thomas Hall NFL. You can follow myself at Chad and Jensen. And also check out the awesome work Tom's doing at Gridiron Intelligence. He's doing a lot of good, if you like analytics and deep dives and stuff like that, which if you follow Tom as a writer, that's his forte. Man, he's doing a great thing with Gridiron Intelligence. He's building something special. So check that out too.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the shout out for Gridiron Intelligence. And again, thank you for being on, Chad. It's always fun having you on the show. And, if I can't have Luke, it's nice to have you on to fill in.
I'll do my best Luke impression, and you guys have a great it's hump day, so have a great hopefully anyway, to have a great week. Broncos country, this is the way. Much love.
This is the way.